Carlos, how are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. My name is Alyssa. I'm going to be your OTA today. We're going to be working on passive range of motion of your arm. You up for that?
Let's do it.
All right. First, we're going to work on your shoulder. And so you want to make sure to support the shoulder joint by holding onto the humerus right above the elbow. And then you're going to kind of hold their hand today. And we're going to first do flexion, which is all the way up. And I want you to relax. I'm going to do all of the movement for you today. You don't have to worry about doing anything. And this is flexion all the way up until you feel slight resistance. And you're going to perform this movement about 5 to 10 times. And then to come down for extension, you're going to move their arm backwards until you feel slight resistance again. Once again, you can hold on to their hand. You're going to also do this movement about 5 to 10 times. And then we're going to do abduction. So you're again going to hold on right above their elbow and hold on to their hand. And you're going to bring their arm out to the side and all the way up until you feel slight resistance. And come back down for adduction. And then all the way up for abduction. And then back down for adduction. And you're going to do these movements about 5 to 10 times again. And then you want to come in for, bend the elbow, hold right above the elbow still. We're going to do internal and external rotation. So I'm going to start with external rotation until you feel slight resistance. Bring their hand up. Then down for internal rotation again until you feel slight resistance. Each one about 5 to 10 times. And you can adjust your hand as you move around. And then we're going to come in for horizontal abduction and adduction. So we're going to keep their elbow bent. You're going to come across for horizontal adduction and back out for horizontal abduction. And in for horizontal abduction and out for horizontal abduction. Again, making the movement about 5 to 10 times. Then we're going to move on to the elbow joint. I'm going to rest my hand right at or right above his elbow. And we're going to start with flexion. And for flexion, you're just going to bring the hand up. And for extension, you're going to bring the hand down. And you're going to do these movements about 5 to 10 times. It might be easier to sit in a chair. I'm going to go ahead and sit down in the chair. Up and down. And then for pronation and supination, his hand happens to already be in a pronate position. I'm going to hold right at the elbow, and I'm going to move it to pronate to where his palm faces down, and supinate, palm up. All of these movements you're going to repeat about 5 to 10 times. And up. Then we're going to move on to the wrist movements. It's easier once you get down to these small bones if you go ahead and just sit down in a chair. And I like to support their forearm with my forearm. And we're going to start with wrist flexion, bringing their hand towards the floor, and wrist extension, and fingers towards the ceiling, and flexion. Again, doing it about 5 to 10 times, and extension. Then we're going to do radial deviation, bring their wrist towards their thumb, and ulnar deviation, wrist towards the outside of the body. Radial, ulnar, again about 5 to 10 times. Then I'm going to move my arm up and support his wrist while I do his metacarpal flexion and extension. So this is flexion, kind of making a fist, and extension. You can do all of them at once, or you can do one at a time. Extension, flexion, extension, flexion, making sure that they're only bending at the metacarpal joint and doing it about 5 to 10 times. And then distal IP, proximal IP extension, you're going to, and flexion, flexion is this middle knuckle and extension. And then proximal or distal IP is flexion and extension is this last knuckle up here. It's easier to do them individually. You're going to do them all 5 to 10 times. Then I'm going to turn his hand over with the thumb pointing up, and we're going to do some thumb CMC abduction and adduction. So abduction is away, adduction is in, 5 to 10 times, and then palmar adduction or abduction and adduction. All right, and that is the passive range of motion for the shoulder, elbow, wrist, and hand. You feel good now?
Yeah, that was good.
All right. Well, thank you for your time and have a good day.
You too.